Good morning. Happy Wednesday night to the US. And happy Thursday morning to my fellow Melburnians and Australians. My phone just went off. I better go on silent, just so it doesn't bother us. Okay. Being a people pleaser. The discussion today up here. I can never do this properly. The discussion up here today. And as always, if you are here during the stream and you would like to ask me a question or share a comment, just like John here has done, put 3 yellow smiley faces just before your question or comment, and I can see it. See? It pops out during the stream. So the topic today is a hack for people pleasers that I found with myself in the past when I was too much of a nice guy and I wanted people to like me, to love me, to accept me, to approve of me, to get validation. It's a very, very common trait, given that we are social animals, human beings. We want that social bond, the connection. And if you don't have that social acceptance from others, the approval of others, it is you're genetically cast out. So for someone who's a over-the-top people pleaser or over-the-top nice guy that just feels like the more I shovel in, the better the better off I'll be. It's fairly dangerous. So this is still dirty. All right, let me know if I'm coming in loud and clear. Let's see. Random stream. Yeah, big ol'. I thought I just felt like doing one this morning. And for a while now, I'd like to get into the habit of doing more and more streams. I think I've figured out the stream buffering with this thing. But then again, I could probably jinx myself. Share, like, comment with the stream as well. Share it with people if you feel like this is a good topic or a good discussion. But what I want to do today is share with you. First of all, what is people pleasing? People pleasing is basically like love me, like me, and approve of me, please. And I'll give you a little bit of truth I discovered about myself, which helped me to stop being such a people pleaser in conversations, especially when I was out on dates or when I was around friends. And I felt like I talked a little bit too much, or I felt myself being a little bit desperate in conversation. Around people that I wanted to like me, like when you go on a date. But first, a little bit of a backstory on this. When you're a people pleaser, when I was a people pleaser, or when I was much more of a people pleaser, because I don't think it fully leaves you, like what you become under the age of 7 or 8, it's tattooed into you, and you learn to exercise yourself consciously away from it, so it's not an autopilot mechanism within you. And when I was much, much more of a people pleaser when I was younger, I didn't like how I felt afterwards. I felt stupid. And I didn't get what I thought was fairly expected. You know, I'm giving 150% and I'm barely getting 20 back. And I just feel like, oh, they don't hear me, they don't see me. If I'm going out with an awful girlfriend, she's just it's how she was raised. It's she's having a bad day. That's her personality. It's all right. I can compensate with all this other stuff, right? But it just felt unfair. And there's a mechanism in me that doesn't like unfairness. And it's something that I don't want to get rid of because it helps calibrate me towards virtue and setting my boundaries and things like that. So, hey, Quaz, how are you? Why I think people pleasing affected me so much was it is directly connected, a large part of it, to your childhood. For me, it was the neglect of my parents in various ways, which I went, not to say that they were bad people, but when I was very young, my brother and sister came one and then the year next. And so I was a young boy, and all of a sudden I wasn't the golden child, the only child, and all the attention was on them, and they had to take care of them. I had to help. So I effectively disappeared. And so I think unconsciously I've spent my adult life chasing after what was, the door that was shut and not given to me anymore. I was the one and only golden child, and I was very confident when I was very young, very, very confident. Then all of a sudden, the lights just went out. And I think unconsciously, this people pleasing comes from that space of trying to get back what I felt wasn't given to me by the fact that my brother and sister came along, which isn't anyone's fault. But it's nice to acknowledge where it might have come from, but don't use it as a crutch, Get over it. Doesn't matter what happened in your past, you can't use it as an excuse for having poor boundaries or treating people badly. You can't say, well, I've got a temper because of my childhood, so deal with it. It's like, nah, whatever happened to you, you don't carbon copy it into the future and use it as an excuse. There's too many examples of people where we admire that they've gone through terrible things and traumas, and they come out better than most people around us, and they're very admirable in that way. So, first of all, let me say hello to some of you regulars. Okay, let's see what John says. Definitely too nice in the past, but it was a protective mask in progressively woke situations. I put the mask away upon retirement. Masks are part of being an adult and getting on with life. Masks are a part of being an adult and getting on with life. Or dropping the mask, you're saying, is part of being an adult and getting on with life. Look, there's some masks you need to put up that are civilly and respectfully necessary, like when you and some of them are just manners, right? They're not. You can't just be 100% you the way you are behind closed doors where no one's around. You don't have to have etiquette. You can dress, look, think, and do whatever you want, and there's absolutely no consequences because there's nobody around you to sort of wear the brunt of that or figure it out, or even need to talk to you to wonder what's happening. So there is a lot of civil and politeness that sometimes you can call it acting or putting on a mask, like going to work. But the core of who you are, standing up for what's right and what's wrong, and how much you will take and not take, given your principles, is the important thing, though. So, let's see. Any other comments? I put my best foot forward in a date, interview, life, and I let the chips fall where they may. The more I was aloof, the less I tried encapsulate an outcome, the better the outcome usually. Yeah. That's a really good attitude. Whatever works for you. Mine was always go out and treat everyone like a potential friend until they prove otherwise. So go out there optimistic, glass half full. Don't trust people beyond what's sensible if you don't know them, if they haven't earned your trust. But don't go out in the world defensive and already having a determination of people and situations. There's too many pockets of the internet, the manosphere, and areas like that where they think they know everything before they've actually interacted with the situation. They think they know men, women, society, and everything. And as a result, everything gets more and more nihilistic. And because the only absolute truth is to do absolutely nothing and to give up and just wait for the grave. But what's the point of being here if you're not going to dance and enjoy yourself once in a while? That's kind of scientific certainty always rubbed me the wrong way whenever I was in sort of groups that otherwise were a good bunch of guys online. The moment you started to let's go over our axioms and our presuppositions and things we think are true. Let's question them again. And it's almost like you're talking against the religion and they cast you out of the church. Never liked that. David P says, what happened to us as kids isn't our fault. How we deal with it as adults is our responsibility. Yes. And also, you can't go back. I did a video recently on that about the futility. I think this one. This opposite pointing, how you can't go back in time and fix your mistakes. It's a good one. It's the last actual video I did a week or so ago. Not the last stream, but the last video. And yeah, so let me continue my thoughts on people pleasing. Whenever I was this ultra nice guy and I never got even half, like objectively, half of the niceness and the consideration and the give that I, it's not like I'm playing tick for tack. I want to genuinely do what makes me feel good, what's right. But then you just realize there's radio silence coming from the other side. The more you notice that radio silence, it doesn't even need to be anger. It doesn't need to be, I'm really nice, they're really terrible. But just you're yelling into space. You're playing tennis on your own. You're hitting the ball over the fence. And you just realize the other side of the court is littered with thousands of tennis balls and there's none on your side. That is what I'm talking about. The somewhat fairness of interaction and relationships with people in the world, even your hobbies. Are your hobbies giving back to you? Are people reciprocating? There's some times where I genuinely enjoy giving 80%. And I love it because I want to give more. I enjoy giving more, like conversations like these. Sometimes I might know more about a subject, so I will talk more in that conversation just because I realize that they're listening more because they're interested in the conversation that I may know more of. Also, in other conversations, you need to learn how to shut up when you don't know as much, ask more questions. But just being self-aware enough of how you're speaking and whether or not something's coming back. We often, as nice guys and people pleasers, we're overdoing it to get a response, to get something back, Maybe I can love this person for the both of us. And that's a real danger for guys, being overly stoic. You see a lot of guys, their war stories with relationships. I did everything. I just gave, and she did nothing. Well, one, why did you give so much? That there wasn't a point near the start where you thought, hang on, this seesaw is completely lopsided and never shifts. It's a one-way street. Because they go in not having needs, and it's not the same as being needy, but going in and not even having some sort of needs or any kind of requirement for them to hit the ball back over the fence to have a relationship with you. Have needs so that the other person can do and show things that they are a good friend, that they are a good lover, that they care for you in more than just empty words. Actions mean everything to your life and your relational life with other people, your lovers. So say with you, when you don't take action, ethical action, to go for a run when you're supposed to, or do a set of push-ups when you're supposed to, or eat healthier. You can say whatever you want, but you let yourself down. You don't really care. You don't really love, yourself or your life enough. You can say whatever you want, but you don't really, because there's no action behind it. The action actually makes it real. And it's the same with the relationship with someone else when you're such a people pleaser. They can say they love you, and you can keep giving and waiting for that promise to be fulfilled and come back to you, which it almost never does, because most of the time they just find you squeamish or needy. But it's a very important thing to realize within yourself. As I said, one thing I really understood was I trusted the feelings afterwards when I was obsequious and, you want to call it simpy or needy or giving 110% and a person barely gave me a response back. And what you do is you keep giving more and more and more. And it's no good for you. It's no good for them. No one enjoys it. I realize it was my own fault because, in a sense, it's not theirs, because I kept giving myself away for free all the time, getting more and more, and really cheaply too. Because if I'm the town's, you can't blame the town. You know, if you're the town bike, you don't blame the town. And the cliche with most people is, I got used, I did a lot for this person, I did this, this, and this, and they did nothing back, they didn't reciprocate. But it's also emotionally and conversationally. I found with myself, especially, the oversharing and overtalking. This is an important thing that I don't think is discussed in this being taken advantage of sphere of relationships and jobs and things like that. Do you emotionally and conversationally, with your thoughts and emotions and, you know, feelings and expressions and all of that sort of stuff, be careful not to give too much of yourself away lexically and conversationally in a relationship as an indicator that you are a people pleaser. Because we don't think about the words. It's not just that we're too nice in all the things we do. It's we're too nice with all the things we say and the volume of our conversation. And a lot of people pleasers, especially myself, which, you know, I'm intellectually curious. I like talking. I like being sort of open and getting under the skin of conversation and finding out about you and thoughts and experiences. I people please conversationally. And I noticed that about myself. And I did it all the time. And I telegraph myself to people who would take advantage of me or allow me to conversationally and emotionally take on the burden of the whole relationship, conversation-wise. And you telegraph yourself to these people that, this person really likes me, they can't shut up, or they talk all the time, I barely need to say a thing. I can just sit back and observe, and after a while they get used to not participating emotionally and conversationally. And by my oversharing and my verbal diarrhea, I could, you know, I'm looking for a response, oh, they like me, but I'm not getting it back through their words and their conversations. So this is one thing I want a lot of you people pleasers to maybe question about yourselves, because this is one thing that I questioned. I mean, I'm talking all the time now because it's a live stream. There's no one talking back to me. I can read your comments, but it's a good opportunity for me, given you know how much I enjoy discussion chat, and I have this rich inner world of dialogue that I want to express. It was beholden on me to really sharpen this thing that I have, because I would telegraph being taken advantage of, and I would telegraph that I would do everything with, you know, with the energy I give through my conversations, that I would be a super nice guy. And it would just happen over and over again. I would fill up the space in my relationships with most of the talk, cerebrally, lexically, and it was exhausting, I'm sure, for the other person as well. But for me too, where I felt like it's just not right. It feels one-sided, and I didn't know why. Which brings me to what I noticed about myself. It's the nervousness I had with empty space in conversation. I had to keep filling it up. Maybe you've noticed it with yourself, or you notice it with other people, where you chat somewhere, you know, at a barbecue with friends and family, and the moment a conversation stops, you feel like you have to keep inserting words and saying, so what else? What else is happening with you? And what, like, you keep manufacturing discussion because you want to know, you want to be liked, you want to exist in that space. So do you find yourself in conversations with an uncontrollable urge to fill in the silence with talking? And can you stop yourself? This is the hack that I'd like to talk about here. This is the hack I found with myself. Can you stop yourself? Are you conscious in conversations with saying your piece and then stopping the filler words? In these conversations, I try and stop myself from saying your rudimentary filler words like and and, you know, just to continue. Aside from those, do you find yourself saying sentences and asking things that are just because you need to keep giving more of yourself conversationally than you need to. That nervous part of you, that is the people pleaser conversationally. Can you stop giving for a moment and filling in those silent spaces? Can it just be enough for you to say your piece? And that's it. Can I stop talking after I've said my bit is a very important and interesting topic. Can you stop giving words? And then can you listen? I think I got a super chat from somebody, and so I will read it. Prince Revolver. Thank you very much for the super chat. He says, sometimes just being fair gets confused for being a people pleaser or a nice guy. The important thing, Prince Revolver, which I'm sure you're aware of, is as long as you're aware of what's happening. I'm really heartened by the fact that sometimes you guys will add comments here, very aware of how you're being taken advantage of, where you keep screwing up and you want to get better. And you're not defensively making excuses and saying, oh, but women. And they're saying, no, but me. And I'm not proud of this. That's the only real effect you can have. You can't go into dates demanding a person be nice and, put away your sword because I'm really vulnerable. You can't demand that of strangers. All you can do is demand of yourself to be a more resilient person, while at the same time being honest and courageous enough to express exactly who you are. Letting go of all of irrational fear in a nutshell. But that's a very good point, Prince Revolver. Fairness gets confused with being a people pleaser, but you shouldn't care what other people think. You should really care whether it's accurate with you or inaccurate. And people's perception really doesn't matter as much. John says, other people may not place the same value on being nice as you do. This is cool. True. Landis says, people-pleasing behavior is supposed to greatly affect negatively how much the girls are attracted to you. Did you notice that in your past relationships? I noticed that I was very refreshingly interesting to most girls on dates. The more I let my inner world come out by giving myself permission to talk, learn to think and speak better, and not be stunted. But at the same time, sometimes my pride in my own growth in that area, I did it more and more, and I had a blind spot where I thought this date went really well, and I had a great time. But upon reflection, later I realized I had a great time with myself, expressing myself. There's such a liberating feeling in just being who you are and not having any filters and having a great time on a date, that you think you had a great time with them, but you didn't. You had a great time because you had no fear and you were completely yourself. But that's very different to connecting with a compatible person. So that's a little nuance, but a very important. It's not a little one, it's a big one. That's very important to realize. But the nice person thing, I think if, as Prince Revolver said before, if you're aware of it, if you're aware that you've got good qualities, you don't want to get rid of the things that you objectively think are values: decency, fairness, listening, all of these kind of things, just to strategically get her into bed or get a relationship going. I don't want to be the person I'm ashamed of being just so the ends justify the means. How I win matters greatly to me. If I don't respect how I win, I'm not really motivated to win the thing, unless it's survival and I have to. The world goes to hell in a handbasket, and you have to do things that you're not proud of, but you need to survive. But if it hasn't got to do with the survival instinct, you should always do things by which you're proud of, I think. Not in an ego way, but I think the more pride, the more you can aim for pride within yourself, and after the fact, you actually proud of yourself and you like the way you conducted yourself and you're happy you spoke up and things like that. So let me see. Quaz, how are you, man? Long time no hear. We need to have a chat again, I'm sure. He says, if you are too deep, you get your results immediately. If too shallow, deferred. Yeah. You have to be clear. I think Karu said it well in the last poll I put up. He said, I said, what did I say in the poll, actually? I said, the poll was, when should you date seriously? And I think Karu said, aside from leisure or fun activities, everything else in life should be done seriously. And I really agree with that. Even most of the fun things, because I know that if I take this seriously, if I take my conversations seriously, still playfully, but seriously, and I pay attention and I'm not sleepwalking through them, if I take things seriously, I get the benefits of serious results. If I take things half asleep and as a hobby and offhandedly, then I get offhanded, casual, don't give a shit results. So take as much as you can seriously while still having a good, curious attitude about it. And that's probably another thing, is stay curious. The more you stay curious, the less you're going to be angry and defensive. So stay curious as much as you can. Then you're more likely to be self-reflective and humble and all of those great things too, instead of an echo chamber. Priscilla says, in my opinion, I think it is natural for us humans to give. Yes, we're a social species. We don't survive with this lone wolf superhero archetype that a lot of avoidant people think is a virtue. It's admirable when the sole, alone, lone wolf human being survives and even flourishes on their own, because it's so counterintuitive, but it's not the reason why we're here. Human beings, we're top of the food chain. We don't have fur. We're not the strongest. We're not the smartest. We're not the best in anything. What we're the best in is cooperating with each other. And today we're bereft of that. Today, everyone has the virtue of being a loner and not needing anybody. And you're better than everyone else. And, you know, everyone's opinions are wrong. And I don't need to listen to anybody else. You need to cooperate, even conversationally and with ideas. You need not to be so brittle, people. Not talking to you. A lot of people say, humans putting down his subs. I'm not. You know, when I say you, or I mean me, I'm talking us. I'm always talking like us. When I say you guys, I talk about myself in the past too. I'm ashamed of how I've acted. I've tried to improve and things like that. But anyway, Ted1775 says, definitionally, vulnerability is a kind of weakness. Yes, I agree. No, thank you. Not anymore. I have been suspicious of Brené Brown for a while. Yeah, I don't. Vulnerability has become this really kind of cringy self-help thing that I avoid that term as well. But I prefer something like openness, honesty, like being real, because vulnerability, it does have a connotation of being very weak and soy. And it's a very kind of submissive feminine term to me. I don't like it anymore. I can talk about it with someone who does acknowledge it definitionally, but now there's a colloquial connotation towards this thing that I really don't like. A lot of words these days that meant one thing now mean something else, and you can't use them anymore. You have to go to your mental thesaurus and use something else. Prince Revolver said, I should have clarified that I'm fair to a certain point. I'm happy to walk away from people who ask and demand more from me than they are willing to give back. Same with me. A lot of you guys, I feel like we're cut from the same cloth. I like how with my friends and family and my woman and people I care about, I enjoy giving. There's just something hardwired where you can give to people you trust and it's reciprocated. There's nothing kind of better. It makes life feel, it imbues it with color. It makes you feel kind of safe and good and vibrant, and you know, the colors and sounds are better and things like that, rather than the black and white silence of Plato's cave that so many of these guys feel like it's the only choice they have left to survive. To get out of that survival mode and just try and trust in your own judgment by taking baby steps. I'll get back to some thoughts I had on the topic before I get carried away with some of your comments. I'll get back to your comments, guys. But back to some of this. How I hacked being such a people pleaser. One hack is conversationally. If you're a person that likes conversation, likes talking, especially when you like a person, you meet someone you can talk to, my floodgates open and I really go deep with people, especially on topics I find interesting like these, you know, pedestrian philosophy and everyday life and things, but talking about it meaningfully. And as I said before, I like to take things seriously that are very meaningful, even everyday life. And you can connect with people and find out who they are with these kind of everyday life topics. So I found myself very easily just opening the floodgates of conversation with, you know, girls on dates and people, and trusting too much just because of how open I am, and not realizing that they haven't opened their doors one bit. In fact, they weren't just closed, they were shut and locked, and they were a vault. And I was having a perception of the other person being open simply because I was unafraid to be conversational and open with them. So ask yourself, can you stop yourself in moments of silence, in group chats between you and another person? Give them a chance to speak. This is one thing I even now with Stephanie, I get excited and I want to share my inner world, and I keep going and going. I basically do one of my live stream rants to her when it's my chance to speak. And I kind of beat it to the canvas with my passion, right? Where she's forgotten what she wanted to say at the beginning or 30% of the way in, and I exhaust her. And I need to, again, this suggestion of mine is something that I've learned. And if you have a personality that's even a little bit like mine, if you're intellectually curious and conversational and open, learn to stop when you've made your point. Learn to make your points more concisely and clearly, and be just aware of, I've said enough. Let's see what they want to say. And the shorter you can talk and allow someone to speak, or when you feel like you want to fill empty space with, so anyone got anything else to say? Or what do you think about this? Or don't say those things. See if you can sit in silence. Because the point I found was, can I actually not give my words as well? I'm used to being a giver and a people pleaser and give. Can you stop giving, especially your thoughts and your words and your kind of lexical energy, and stop doing all the heavy lifting? Can you stop? Can you stop? I think it's an important one this is something I discovered. I'd like to see what you guys think. Oh, some other comments. Let me read them out. Big Ol says, don't feel the awkward silence. Don't fake a laugh at the shitty joke. Yes, that the office cooler pretending to laugh and everything is funny to just elicit levity and laughter and like good feelings. It is, because what happens is, if you get used to office cooler talk and faking your laughter just to generate good vibes, you go on dates acting fake to generate good vibes, and the other person puts their guard up, as you should when you notice the other person's not genuine. Hopefully you can kind of are aware of your defenses and what they're doing, and you can try and be the person that keeps pulling down the guard and insisting that the both of you are real. But what happens with that office cooler talk is we do it with friends and stuff, and we just say and do things that we don't even care if they're true or not, just to elicit certain emotions, rather than being open and honest to talk about anything and everything, to kind of let the guard down so the person can trust you. We're not trusting each other conversationally to be open, we are trusting memes that we can both safely laugh at, like at the office. It's not your responsibility to compensate for other people's social ineptitude, and also for your or their fear. Because what people tend to do is put on the fake smile, laugh at fake shit, and say smart things and memes as a way of generating some sort of comfort in conversations and being part of a group and things like that. You will notice whether you have true friends, if you're allowed to question things, have your own point of view, and whether they're crabs in a bucket that try and pull you down, or actually say, well, that's interesting. Why do you think that, human? You know, you always say that, human, like I have to hear why you think that, rather than you're wrong. Or you go on a date with Chicky Poo and she just has a sour look on her face when you have an opinion that's not a feminist opinion, or it's not woke enough for them. At least it tells you the truth of who they are. Too many of us love having fake office cooler talk or having a fake date because we're afraid of a real one. I don't know what it is, but the more you get used to ripping the Band-Aid off and being honest and real all the time, the more you can trust that I like this person for actual, real, honest reasons, not because we're both really great at the formality of dating, or we're both really great at the formality of office cooler talk at work, and that's why I can tolerate my job. There's a bit of levity because we all say fake shit and talk and laugh at fake jokes and talk about the weather and stuff like that. Kia Ora from Better Life, he's a Kiwi, says, human, the quieter you become, the more you are able to hear. I don't look for nice people. I look for genuine people. The Art of Not Giving a F book has helped me a lot. Yes. You also, if you talk all the time, you only regurgitate what you know, and you learn nothing else. And even if you're sure of what you know, so obviously by the way I speak, you can kind of guess that I'm fairly sure of myself on certain topics. But also, if you don't shoot people down when they go against you, but instead you have a curious attitude of, okay, tell me more, debate me in a fun way, or tell me why you disagree with me, you can either feel even more secure with your point of view because after hearing them, no, I know I'm right. Like they didn't say anything to disprove me. They've done nothing but sharpen my opinion. I feel even more righteous about what I believed previously, simply because their debate is wrong, or it didn't convince me. Or it might convince you to adjust your point of view, to sharpen it, or to let go of old beliefs and axioms that really don't serve you and do nothing but hold you back. Case in point, you could be dating a certain way in your 20s and you think, okay, this works compared to the naivety and the embarrassment I had before, pick-up lines and things like that, whatever got you through, right? You get older, it feels embarrassing. You need to find more genuine ways. You get into the season of your 30s and 40s, into your midlife, and you need to find your own language. You can't just rely on the lines of others that worked with sleepwalking sheep, you know? You get past midlife and things need to be much more genuine. Things need to be much more compatible and honest. I haven't read the Michael Mason's book, The Art of Not Giving a F. It's on my shelf, but I will read it. It's one of those I started reading on the last leg of my flight back from the Netherlands last time, and I was so tired I only read, I think, the first 2 chapters or something. When Human says he's actually addressing all of his shampoo bottles. Yes. These rants, as you pointed out, Big Ol or someone else did, is me in the shower talking to my shampoo bottles. I get I generate most of my questions and topics and things I want to talk about when I'm alone on my own is when I'm in a meditative state, and that's usually in the shower or on a run or exercising, things like that. Quaz says, I wish I could teach this. It has taken me a long time to understand people pleasing involves you to Yes. The only way you can teach it is through conversation, I think. I think you can't instruct people to do this because, as I said, say you're a people pleaser, say you've probably experienced this, Quaz, where you realize you know more about something, you take the lead in this conversation, and the person kind of adoredly looks up at you, and girls tend to do this, and they admire you, and they tend to listen more than they talk because they know less about it, and you get off on this. But I think that it works both ways in you getting better with your people pleasing, but also you getting more confident, like balancing those things more is when you can conversationally bring it out. And you can hear yourself being less of a people pleaser on dates. You can hear yourself, as I suggested, talking less in conversation and realizing, like, I'm getting better at this. Like, I'm not pleasing lexically like I always used to. And I think the only way out of a lot of these, the way the modern world keeps us neurotic, is to let it out, to think and speak better and have better conversations, and try and catch up with friends on a coffee. But if you're on the other side of the planet, insist on times to have a chat online, record a podcast, do something. Have better conversations. Don't just entertain yourself passively by just watching memes that say little and all they do is entertain. It will do nothing to solve your social problems of people pleasing and boundaries and things like that. Prince Revolver, thank you very much for the super chat again. He says, the issues with being vulnerable or having vulnerability nowadays is it's always on someone else's terms. Be vulnerable when I saw so, or when I say so, or else. Yeah, but also, I think people need to get a tougher skin as well, because say with comedy, everyone's so fragile and anti-vulnerable. People are just too brittle in the same token. But I know what you're saying, Prince, Revolver. Yeah, like people insist on being vulnerable today in the Oprah kind of way, where they want you to drop your guard so they can take advantage of you. Unfortunately, the civil conduct where I will only take this much and it's impolite to take even more because I will be socially ostracized. Those guardrails are gone today in society, and basically everyone is a car salesman pretending. People, you look at the social media, the Instagram, your YouTube, the way in which they do videos is so fake and contrived, and it's lacking in realism. And I've noticed there's become a big wedge between two types of content out there. The very commercial content where people say hello and click on this and like and buy my course and stuff. You've got the commercial content creators, and you've got more the personal ones. And I would suggest, whether we're making content or whether we're interacting with people, make it personal and don't do the car salesman thing where you're trying to get from other people. Have a relationship. Don't just take. John says, I am learning not to speak as much as an example for the other person to do likewise. I don't recall it ever working. Yeah, unfortunately, most people are lemmings, and today they just wait for you to stop speaking. They're not even listening because they want to talk all the time. They're used to just being on, this, not engaging. They think they're listening when they're reading and watching. They're not used to listening to another person actually in a conversational dynamic. They're used to passively, in a non-threatening way, reading things when they want to. It's all about them. They'll listen to you when they want. They'll watch your videos when they feel like it. They'll listen to you in the background while the dinner's cooking in the car, but they won't directly pay attention and have a one-on-one, very intentional discussion with you where their senses are all firing, both themselves and you, to have a really kind of connected conversation. That doesn't happen. And so as a result of this and social media, the dynamic with which people have discussions and the way they connect is demonstrably different to the way it was with our grandfathers. Karu says, actually, by definition, vulnerability is a state of being exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed. I guess confidence and trust is weakness nowadays. Yeah, again, the term vulnerability is being co-opted by the woo-woo crowd. But definitionally, if you get a sense of the person understands the actual definition of vulnerability, and it isn't a car salesman word to make you turn your head long enough for them to put their hand in your wallet, that's different. To me, it's all about getting rid of your, excuse me, that was very manly and rude. It's all about getting rid of as much irrational fear as you can. I think guys especially feel most alive when we jump out. We keep taking jumps out of airplanes with well-packed parachutes as professionals. That exhilaration, that sense of confidence and pride and achievement and doing things and connecting with the world. This kind of passive retreat into Plato's cave, I don't think works really well. Didn't work for Plato either. Stoicism and solitude is helpful in a sea of NPCs. It makes not giving a F easier. Yes, I want to do a video about this for people, especially who know what NPCs are, who are sort of simpatico with video game culture, like they're used to video game lingo and stuff like that. If you're an NPC, I don't really think you've got the ability to commit to anyone, but that's another discussion. But talking about NPCs, you need to be the first player character in your video game. So I know it sounds corny and cliche, but so many people are NPCs with memes tucked under their belt, and you go up to them and they're an NPC in a game. They're the guy at the store, they're the person along the road, and they've got their prescribed lines from the manosphere or self-help or feminism or politics or Trump or the left or conservative, whatever it might be, capitalism, you know, communism, all that kind of bullshit. And they're NPCs with very intelligent memes by people before them or who are smarter than them, the people that came up with them. And all these NPCs that have got very smart lines and they're clever and they know everything about dating and they're experts at men and women, they go on a date and they come off as an NPC. They don't have their own thoughts. As such, you can't commit to anyone because you don't know what you're committing to. You don't have your own commitment standards. You effectively go on a date and go, well, I'll get back to you. I have to check with my church, my buddies, the manosphere, or the dating gurus. Do they give me the green light? Are you the person for me? So if you're an NPC, I don't think you can really honestly commit to anyone. And I don't really think you can love anyone because you don't know what love means to you. You don't know what commitment means to you. You don't know what girl does it for you. You have to continually go to what is a high-value male? Is she a high-value female? And as such, only then will I pull the green light, which is stupid. Green lighting a girl based on objective standards. Green lighting a partner is completely subjective standards. Objective before you know them, fine. They're a stranger, you know, survival and all of that. But everything after that point is subjectively, selfishly, why you pick them to the exclusion of every other female out there. But I digress. Richard, Volk, Boffrin's just saying to Volk, add 3 smiley faces so you can notice your question. Yes, if I'm not answering your questions during this stream, if you are here and getting annoyed that I'm not seeing your question or comment, as I keep saying, add 3 emojis like this before your comment or question, and then I will notice it during the stream. Like Ted here. Look. See? Anyway. Better Life says, thanks, human. Yes, indeed, heated discussions. I always tell me more instead of trying to define my values and beliefs or opinions. That way I can learn way more about the person in front of me. The solutions I would have in conclusion to my thoughts on noticing myself being a people pleaser in conversations where I I find it very uncomfortable. I found it very uncomfortable with silent spaces in a conversation with people. I had to kind of fill it in. And I noticed, do I really need to give that much? Am I that much of a people pleaser, even in conversation? I complain about what I did for women and they used me and they weren't respectful and they weren't thankful. But at the same time, I'm also giving all of my mental, verbal, like I'm carrying the whole relationship from every single corner, both mentally and physically, like real world and internal. Come on. No wonder I feel so tired and so hard done by, but that's entirely my fault. I mean, lack of boundaries and all that sort of stuff goes without saying, but a solution I found when I recognized that I was being a huge people pleaser in conversations with someone I liked, or especially dates, was calm down, be aware of how you're acting, and try and get good and being concise in your points, and then waiting. And pay attention to your conversation style. Don't go on autopilot. My autopilot is this stream. And this style of me speaking on streams is terrible with Stephanie or on previous dates, because I would just go and I'd pause for a brief second and they would just be encouragingly watching a movie. They would be watching a stream, a podcast, but look at this guy's it's just coming out of him. This is entertaining. They got popcorn while they're watching me and listening to me. So another thing, a hack I did was that to curb the impulse of wanting to talk when there is silence. Say there is a little bit of silence. If you effortlessly are able to talk and further the conversation, don't just start talking. Phrase it as a question to get them to start talking. So say I talked about something and then I want to go on to talk about, I don't know, hammers. Ask them about hammers. You know, if you want to do the segue, make the segue a question so then they can have some input and you can shut up. So that's a great way. Instead of talking, ask a question so that you can start talking after they respond. So get them involved as a way of you listening more. Because the last thing you want is just to be a silo of your own thoughts and never letting another person through, never playing conversational tennis, by which you can actually understand if the person's compatible with you, or if you... There's no point saying they're my friend because I talk all the time. You don't even know them because they never speak. They never tell you who they are. Okay, some more questions. Ted1775, first player character. Yes, FPC versus NPC, mental point of origin. Better Life says, when I and my wife watch a movie or documentary, we agree to watch together, and I notice she's scrolling on her phone. I always simply turn it off and walk away. This is how I show my time is valuable. Yeah, and also communicate it. I would suggest also with partners, don't just kind of, if they won't listen to you, then the only thing you've got is action to walk away. But if you've got the ability to say, hey, you're being rude, we agreed to watch it, come on, otherwise I'm going to get my phone out and blah, blah, blah. In a fun way, let them know that they're on autopilot. Human, aka Orange Man. Yeah, there's a lot more orange in the stream today, isn't there? Prince Revolver says, human, I have a frame. My new girlfriend does everything I say. She keeps standing up and never talks back. She's high value. Yeah. This is the joke of the pickup artists and the red pill community. It's kind of have a hollow doll pet on a leash. I require a human being. Sorry. Andy Baby says, NPC equals a boring cliche, fully indoctrinated normie, someone who doesn't have an original thought. I mean, how refreshing is it to have a great time with a friend and know why, by what they said that was different or surprising, or they hit the ball back with you on a topic in a way like what they said you've never heard before, and it's exactly in your wheelhouse. That stuff's awesome and lets you know how compatible you are with this person. Better Life says, it's really interesting how people are expecting you to have an opinion on everything. When people in a group chat ask me, what's your opinion? I often say, don't have any, and they get confused. And also stopping yourself from having an opinion when you really don't, just because you want to talk. As I said, I've got this very natural reflex to, okay, I'll talk if you're not talking. I can make up an opinion on that. I'm very creative. I am a creative person. I come up with videos and I draw. There's a blank sheet of paper. Let me start drawing, see what happens. So I generate a lot, but I have to stop my autopilot generation, even in conversation, because it works to my benefit with a blank sheet of paper, music, video, all this kind of stuff that I love to creatively generate. But in a conversation, I generate a lot of stuff effortlessly, but I have to kind of stop myself intermittently, because what I'm trying to do in conversation is not generate talking to myself, but in aggregate, generate a holistic discussion or a back and forth with a person or with something else. But mostly with people, you have to play tennis. It cannot be myself hitting a tennis ball against a brick wall. Nothing good comes from telling a woman you're being rude. Yeah. That's actually funny. I've had more women respect me when I need to make a point and tell them to be quiet or they're being rude. Rather than saying you're being rude, don't talk to a woman like women would talk to women, because you're being delicate with her. Often when there's been moments when I'm exacerbated and I tell her to shut the up or be quiet, they laugh, they get disarmed. So tell them what you need to tell them. Be blunt and direct, but not like one of their girlfriends. You're being rude. Oh my God. The Global Vagabond says, people forget what a good friend partner is. Finding someone who has your back when you need them and has a deep, intimate connection takes work, practice, education, and patience. And also, you yourself need to develop the antennas by which to be able to accurately see a real friend. Because most people now, they've cut off the mechanism to learn how to trust someone and trust themselves to trust someone, because they're just too afraid to be hurt today. Everything is a scam. Everyone will stab you in the back, apparently. And most of the time it does happen. I'm not saying that recklessly and blindly trust everyone, but it's not as easy as it used to be. We had a much more trusting society in generations gone by. The reality is we don't really have a trusting society today. We did back in my early youth and my parents' time. Yeah, they had other difficulties, but we had much more of a trusting culture. We absolutely don't have a trusting culture today, and rationally so. The hive mind of the human being on aggregate, when it kind of connects out there, is not silly. The survival mechanism comes in and says, we can't trust anything. We can't trust the media. I can't trust videos. I click on a video and it's nothing like what it told me it would be. I keep getting fooled again and again and again. As such, I can't trust my own judgment, and as such, I can't trust anyone, and you end up being alone. Richard says, what do you think about being mysterious versus being yourself? It seems random if your date will value one or the other. Yeah, but it doesn't matter, Richard. Mysterious stuff, I think that's... People really need to get used to boring. I need to put it in those terms. Everyone wants, like, it needs to be exciting. They need to... The dates that blew me away were, to other people, probably the most boring and mundane. Get used to mundanity. Get used to habits. Get used to just pedestrian normality, guys. Like, being impressed, wanting to get on a roller coaster and being blown away like a date is a game show. Get over it. Grow up. What are you, 3? I'm not saying you again, Richard. If you're new here, you know when I say you, I mean me and us. When I'm talking you, I talk about me too. It's kind of a group setting. Who cares what women want? Who cares about mysteriousness? Who cares when a woman's being mysterious and batting her eyelids and saying, well, not yet, or play your cards right, and kind of just holding back openness? Say, fair enough, like I'm being open, you're not. I'm expressing it openly, you're not. I'm telling you who I am, and you're playing this mysterious game that everyone else is playing. Fine, go date them. Date them, and then complain when you're 50 about like where are all the good open people, like I'm tired of being on the carousel. Like, go, do it, don't care. Who cares? If you yourself know it's of value and virtue to be open and honest, do that. Who cares what unvirtuous people think? Who cares about an unvirtuous, not open person who can manipulate and scam you just because she's hot and wears a short skirt? Who cares whether a good-looking, valueless person, unvirtuous person, who cares what they think? Who cares? We know this, but we like bright, shiny things. Stop being, and I'm saying with me as well, you intentionally stop and push back the 5-year-old and say, no, I'm not the 5-year-old anymore. I am the adult with my friends and family. I am me as much as I can be. And if I'm me on the date, that's the only way I can't be anyone else. Because the moment I put on this formal mask of impressing and saying the right things and avoiding certain topics because women don't like that and don't talk about politics and dating and exes, like you are just jumping off a cliff of radio silence and feeling alone. If you have a good relationship with yourself, if you have a good relationship with honesty and openness, and you're not afraid of just articulating yourself beautifully and honestly, you don't care about others who don't. And I'm going to bring this up in the next video I'm working on. When you're open and honest for once, and you feel great, you have great pride in that, when you need that now. I need an open, honest person. I don't need gaslighting, and I don't need and I don't want shaming. I don't need it. I don't care. Like, fuck off. I don't care, right? When I don't need that anymore and I don't want it, suddenly, you know what happens, guys? You're not attracted to people who can't fulfill those needs anymore. Like, I don't care. It's actually liberating. So who cares about the mysterious stuff? Be yourself, connect with compatible friends or lovers, or just enjoy your own company and the friends and hobbies and things you have. I have learned that at minimum, a woman must be an ally. Otherwise, there is no point in being together. Yeah, you can't love someone you can't trust. If you're playing games, you can't even get past. If you're acting like a office worker that is your enemy, but you're playing this chess game with each other, and you're both on each other on your own respective sides, but you're not on each other's side. Enough for game playing. Otherwise, there is no point being together. No, you can't. You can't love a person you can't trust. And if you're playing games, you can't trust them. Ted1775 says, drop dead loyal is better than drop dead gorgeous. Yes. Look for the girl next door, guys. Look for the girl next door. And if she's surprisingly better looking, bonus, but really have your standards of nothing more than a real girl next door, attractive person. Stop going for the unicorn. That's the real unicorn. The guys that go for these high value women that don't even exist. They're high value in some things, but they're completely bereft of anything meaningful that you could trust or have a relationship with. Better Life says, be yourself, don't play sneaky games, but keep testing people's qualities and intentions fairly and playfully. It's not kind of like you're strategically and rudely testing people. Playfully and openly, let people, if you're honest, they will see how you're playing a game with this stuff, and they will find it intellectually curious and stimulating and things like that. Also, women don't like open book guys in general. Yeah, who cares? Who cares? Don't 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 be needy to the point of trying to make the woman your mother. Like I said about, I recognized in my childhood the things I didn't get, and on autopilot when I was a young male, I went out there chasing the things I didn't get as a 5-year-old. And you stay that 5-year-old when you're dating. When you recognize that and do your best not to be a needy 5-year-old, then you can relax. Then you can stop talking as much. Then you can allow silence. Then you can ask them questions. Then you can insist that they talk to show that you who they really are. Things like that. On a serious note, no amount of red pill content or self-help gurus will prepare you for success compared to being out in the field. Yes. Ethical practice, guys. Any last questions? Let's wrap this up. I've been talking a lot more than I thought I would for a midstream, and I didn't think this topic would have as much meat on the bone as it does, but it seems like it does. But also, it's not surprising. Being a nice guy it's such a common phrase you hear where people really get hard done by it, like a narcissist compared to a people pleaser. But I wanted to also, again, remind you of that little nuance that a lot of people or no one really talks about, is being a conversational nice guy, where you talk all the time and you telegraph to the other person that, yeah, they like me. They talk a lot. I can tell they like me. But just by the amount of words they generate, their face is flushed red, they're stuttering. Conversationally, you can really show your hand. And there's a very real difference between being calm and conversational and being kind of nervous, sharing too much and giving 150%. And the other person even just doesn't have conversational space between the two of you to even say a word. And they give up, and either they'll get tired of you and won't want to be with a person that talks this much, or they will be a strategic narcissist where they want to observe you and play a fake game to commit and maybe get pregnant even if you don't want a kid or whatever. They can in a very nefarious way get into a relationship by observing, and if you're talking a lot, they're going to go, oh great, I can sort of sit back and observe without even having to fake a conversation. I'll let them do all the talking. So and you're also burdening others with having to like you more than you like yourself. People aren't the mother you never had or the father who never installed masculine self-confidence. I often mention it's good to have needs when you're dating a woman in a relationship, not to be needy, but to see physical proof, ethical proof from her that she does things that show she cares. Too many people use the word love, and it's absolutely meaningless today. If all you have to do is say it, but you never show it, you don't love the person. You don't love your hobbies. You don't care enough about even things you want to do and hobbies and routines and health, both mentally and physically. Anything you care about mentally or physically, if you don't put action into it, you don't really care. It's hope. It's hope. It's wish. It's disappointment afterwards. You kick yourself. You feel bad. You don't believe in yourself. All of that terrible stuff. So act on what you believe in, act on what you say you love. And this is why I ask guys to have some needs, so they can see physical proof that their partner actually does things that they like. But don't be emotionally needy like the 5-year-old. No one likes that. And also don't accept that from women if you're guys as well, because a lot of guys get off on the little girl act. I'm just a little girl. And the guys feel like, oh, I'm tough, I'm in control, and she's my little girl, and you get off on that archetype. I'd say it's a trap, and it's a blind spot for guys. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section about being verbally needy by the amount you might talk in a conversation. And I would offer to you, try my suggestion as much as you can, say what you say, and after you've said what you said, can you stop talking after you've said what you said? I think it's important, and it's a way of you consciously pulling back from emotionally and verbally giving so much that you don't even know how the person feels. You don't know. All you know is what you're saying. They know what you're saying. And you're showing your hand as well. And it teaches you to shut up and relate better. You can't just be relating like this. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. I don't think there's any more. Global Vagabond, I've had decent luck by joining like-minded private social clubs of like-minded folks. Many clubs have figured out that people are willing to pay for a safe social environment. Okay. All right. Any final words? We've been going for over an hour, or I've been going for over an hour, and having a parasocial relationship with you guys as you've been having with me. That's another related topic, but not the topic we're talking about today. There's a comment by Better Life. Let me see any final comments. Discussing a topic at home and I make an important statement. I ask my wife to repeat it in her own words. Often I find she can't. Instead of lots of talk, make sure the message has been received well. Yeah, I do that as well sometimes, where I've let out a lot and I've talked around the subject, but I haven't been concise. And at the end, always add, do you know what I mean? Was I clear? Did you understand what I mean? And see if they do understand you, because yeah, remember, the other person has to understand and listen. All right, I think that'll do it for this stream. Leave your comments below, join the channel, have a good week, and I'll see you on the weekend. Later.